Okay, so after reviewing the netball match, I've come up with a few strengths and a few areas where we could improve, and I'll tell you a little bit of ways you can improve those things to make the team better. So, watching your netball match, I've noticed that you supported each other very well. You did shout out lots of encouragement, did tell them what they were doing well, and you did also give constructive criticism to help them get better. So that's a good thing to have in a team. You also all had good knowledge of this game. You all knew what was going on at the same time. You all knew what was allowed, what wasn't allowed. You all knew your positions well. So if someone were to get injured, you could all change position and know exactly where you had to be on the court, knew exactly what your position entitled you to do. And you all knew each other's strengths and weaknesses. So that's a good thing because you all played each other to their strengths, which means if someone was at a point where they were at their weaknesses, you could all use each other's strengths to get that person out of their weakness, which was very good. I did like to see that. However, we did notice some areas which weren't so good. So your communication, even though you did talk to each other, there wasn't enough there to allow you to communicate well over the court. So that is an area where we need to work on, as the game does require a lot of communication between all of the players. I also noticed that the players didn't, even though you knew where you were on the court, there could have been a better plan of attack. Like, you could say to goal defence, you need to be over there and then watch this player and we can do like a triangle type thing. Also, I noticed you don't take your time enough with the ball. So when shooters mainly. So when taking a shot, you have got 3 seconds, so you can use 2 of those seconds to aim and then take the last second to shoot. You remember, you have got those 3 seconds with the ball, so use them and use them wisely. Just because you've got a player jumping in front of you doesn't mean you've got to get rid of that ball any quicker. And I've also noticed that you have to be aware of your players on the court and the court itself. When watching it, I noticed that there was sometimes a bit of contact going on because we weren't looking where the other players are, and being offside, obviously, again, not looking where you are on the court. So ways to improve these areas. So for communication in training, you can do communication drills. Like when throwing the ball, you have to call the other person's name, always. So if you do not call that player's name, there'll be some sort of penalty, like doing, 5-10 star jumps on the spot, and then play will resume. That's one way of building up communication, because if you can manage to do it in training, you'll be able to do it on the court, no problem. Better plan of attack, so you could go to your coach for help for that. So before the match, you can all have sort of like a team brief type thing, and come up with, like each quarter before they start, come up with like a little team brief and say what we think we can do in this quarter to help bring the score back or higher up the score. So you can say, like, in the attacking zone, goal shooter stay in the shooting zone, and it goes from, say, centre, wing attack, goal shooter, and then theoretically a shot. That can be a plan of attack. When taking the time in training, just always take at least 2 seconds in training. Just make sure you're trying your very best to just stand there and for 2 seconds and aim at that hoop. If, say, again, we can add a penalty if you don't take 2 seconds, because the umpire can count the seconds you're holding the ball with. So if you don't take 2 seconds, again, just do 5-10 star jumps on the spot and then play can resume. That's a way of taking your time, because just remember, you have that time, so just use it wisely, because otherwise that's why you won't be taking shots in, because you're just not aiming, you're not taking your time. So just stand there, breathe, aim, and take a shot. And to be aware with players, again, you can add a penalty in training. If you get contact, you have to clear up the sports hall after training, or if you're offside, you have to do some form of forfeit, because then that way, if you don't want that forfeit because it's really nasty, you're going to be more aware of your players around you and more aware where you are on the court, which means that you'll have that in your head then for the game. If you can do that in training, you can more than likely do that in the game, which makes your gameplay better, it makes your score go higher, and it makes everyone be able to enjoy the match rather than get themselves all hot, bothered, frustrated because you're losing and you can't do anything about it. So that's a good thing. Those are all ways of improving, so you can get started on those and then we can assess you again from there.